Up, I didn't know about boundaries. I didn't know about making decisions for myself. Saying no, it was a struggle. It's like my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, they know everything what's going on into your life and they have opinions about it. And then you don't know about your boundaries, even though you feel hurt about what they're telling about you. You're not allowed to say no, or you're not allowed to contradict that.
Hi, I'm Patrick Parker, and you're listening to the Becoming Who You Truly Are podcast, a show that helps us all live more authentic lives. This week, I'm super excited because I'm doing my first ever in-person interview with none other than my next-door neighbor, Camille. Camille and I are going to be talking about a whole gamut of things, from her childhood growing up in the Philippines, moving to Norway and unexpectedly finding love, her big career transition, and all sorts of other life lessons that have taught her about herself and what sort of goals she wants to achieve in life. I'm sure that by the end of this hour, we're all going to be inspired by Camille's message to embrace the unexpected, evolve for peace, and remember that life's best adventures often begin where your comfort zone ends. Hi, Camille. Thanks so much for talking with me today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited.
Okay, and we know each other because we live next door to each other.
I also met you during some walks, unexpectedly.
Because actually your husband is very shy, and I would talk to him, like say hi in the elevator or whatever, but I don't think we really ever talked to him until we met you. And I think you met Ollie, and you and Ollie bonded. And then because you and Ollie bonded, your husband sort of had to talk with us also. Yeah. I know we're all friends.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. I love Ollie so much. I love dog sitting him.
Yeah. And you keep us when we go on vacation. We just went to Spain, and we were very grateful to have a good place for him to stay while we were gone.
I can adopt him.
Do you think that y'all get a dog one day?
I hope so. We're talking about it. And maybe in the near future.
Maybe Ollie will inspire.
Yeah.
So Camille, tell us what it was like growing up in the Philippines. I really don't know anything about the Philippines. Mm-hmm. Wait, and first, before you tell us, say something in Philippines. Say, please subscribe to this YouTube channel in the Filipino,
it's quite hard because we kind of like interchanging from Filipino to English. So I kind of like forget some Filipino words. I can't speak straight in Tagalog.
Okay, Tagalog.
But I'll try, okay. Kumusta, kababayan? It's so hard. I'm stuttering. Please subscribe to Patrick's YouTube channel. Punta kayo sa YouTube and click subscribe. I don't know. It's really hard. I have been speaking English for like 6 years straight, and I have like few Filipino friends in abroad, so it's hard to converse straight in Filipino. But even I'm with Filipinos, we still interchange from English to Tagalog to English.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So tell us about your childhood and what it was like growing up in the Philippines. I guess maybe there's a strong U.S. or Western influence there. Do you grow up speaking English also?
Yeah. So, Philippines, we were mostly, like in the past, for 300 years, we were invaded by the Spanish. And we have that, from that time, we became a Christian country. So up to now, we have 88% Christians.
What was it before it was a Christian country?
It was like our neighboring countries, like Malaysia, Indonesia. So it was more like worshiping gods. Mm. Yeah. And that Muslims, Buddhism, something like that. And then the Spanish came, and then we were baptized. And then for 300 years, they were there. And then the Americans came for a few years, and then the Japanese, and then we were liberated. Up to now, like, we're still speaking kind of like, there's some Spanish mix in our language, and then English. And then, like, if you go to the Philippines, like, mostly just speak English, about 66% of our population. Then growing up in the Philippines, it's a tropical country with some occasional storms. And it's very warm there. So the activities outside is like not compared here in Europe. Like you just go out and take a walk. We do that, of course, but then we're more likely finding some indoor activities like computer gaming and like, like going to the mall. And of course, there are some sports activities, but I grew up in a family that we didn't do much sports. So our family bonding was mainly just watching movies at home because my parents were so busy working and surviving. And so, yeah, it was kind of like a very passive-aggressive childhood because my parents would fight a lot because of financial stability and many things about having a family. So growing up, I didn't know about boundaries. I didn't know about making decisions for myself. Saying no, it was a struggle. But, like when my parents are out of the house, I felt relief. It's a big relief for me and my siblings. And yeah, it was quite difficult. But if I would choose the best memory being with my parents, it was when we had a hammock in our backyard and we have this huge mango tree. And then we just pick up some mangoes and then relax. And those were just like one of the moments that I'd say stood out for me because that was peaceful. And then they would fight again, and then it would be okay again, and then they would fight again. I grew up in a family where we had to go to the church all the time, like twice a week, religiously. And then,
Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night.
Yeah. For me, it's either you choose like one weekday and then one weekend, but then there are some extra activities. It was fun, but there were some times that I felt that I didn't have the say, that I just had to go to the church because my parents would say so. But there were times that it was like voluntary for me as well because I found it fun. Then I felt like most of the times I didn't have the liberty to say no to it because it's based on fear. Like in the church, in our church, it's a Christian church, but it is in a different denomination.
What denomination is it?
I prefer to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's like you are.
But I think you told me it's like one of the more like kind of where I come from. I grew up Southern Baptist, and it's kind of like
it's kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of like more like rule based and like God is authoritarian.
Yeah. And you are not allowed to do this and that, otherwise you'll go to hell, or otherwise you'll be...
Don't breathe the wrong way or you'll go to hell. I think when I became a teenager, I was like, well, if there's so many rules, I'm probably already going to hell, so why don't I just buck all of them? So it's not the best system.
I can agree with that. But then when I tried to kind of like decide, like, I don't want to go to church, I feel sick. I kind of like got gaslighted by my parents. They would say like... if you don't go to church, you'll get sick more, or you have more.
You'll make Jesus cry.
Yeah, you have to go to the church because when you go there, your sickness will be gone because God will save you, something like that. And I was like, how does that work? But okay. And then so I had times that I had to go to church, not on my own will, but it's because I was under fear. I was scared of repercussions that my parents were telling me.
For me, it wasn't even about repercussions from God or anything like that. It was like, if you want to be a part of this family in your church, you go to school, you work at the shop after school, and you go to church.
It's the same.
Do you want to be alive and human on this planet? And you go to church with us.
It's the same for me, but it's not as strict as that. But there are times that it's, it's passive-aggressive. Sometimes the strictness is so strong, and sometimes it's so loose, and sometimes it's strong again. But then there was some point of my life, like maybe I was in the university, that it became a little bit stronger, my connection to the church, that I don't want to use the term brainwashed, but I felt like I was like into it.
Well, we all get brainwashed in some way or another. Whether it's through politics or religion or whatever, we all get brainwashed one way or another.
And believing into it that this is the only way to live.
That's a big part of why I think I do this podcast, because it took me many, many years to sort of, okay, this is what I was taught, but this is what I want to be and who I want to be and what I want to do. And wow, there's a big fight against those two things. And so how do I sort of take what makes sense from what I was taught and use that and kind of discard the rest and find my own way? It's very difficult.
Exactly. And by that time, I never thought about anything about my future, because I felt like I didn't know what's outside my comfort zone, and I didn't know what's behind the rabbit hole, because my mind was just like, limited to that. Okay, I go to church and I'll have a job. I'll still go to church, and then I sleep, I eat, and do some job, and maybe find someone, and then build a family, and that's it. So I never had an ambition to go further for my career. Like, I knew I wanted to be a teacher or a writer, and that's it. Like, maybe I'd publish a book once in my lifetime, and then, that's it. And that's the end for me. Like, I used to dream about going to another country, but then I gave up on that at some point because I didn't see any opening. And then I was like, I'm just going to be with the church. I'm going to be with my family, my relatives. Like, my relatives in the Philippines, we have strong ties with our community, especially with our relatives.
Did you grow up in an extended family, like an extended house, or were they nearby?
Yeah, they live nearby. So it's like my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, they know everything what's going on into your life, and they have opinions about it. And then you don't know about your boundaries, even though you feel hurt about what they're telling about you. You're not allowed to say no, or you're not allowed to contradict that. It's like my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, they know everything what's going on into your life, and they have opinions about it. And then you don't know about your boundaries, even though you feel hurt about what they're telling about you. You're not allowed to say no, or you're not allowed to contradict that, because they are the elders. They're older than you. You have to pay respect by just listening and not talking back. So talking back means that you're disrespecting them, even though they're disrespecting your boundaries. And I didn't know much about boundaries. I thought that was right, because my parents would say, like, just listen, don't fight back, because sometimes, because your relatives will help us something, like, in times of crisis, they are the ones who will be there for you. And before I question it, just in my inner thoughts, like, why do we have to be like this? Like, everyone knows about my period, let's say. And I didn't like it, because it's like, I don't know why it was a big deal now. Oh, she has a period. And then they would tell it to my cousin, and they would say, yes, finally.
Like every month?
No, not everyone. The first time.
The first one, that's so personal.
It's so personal. And it was like, my mom would call this neighbor. It's an extended relative, and she's an elder. And she said, okay, I'm going to tell her that you have your first period, so she can prepare this ritual that, back in the days when they were young, when they had their first period, they would have this, the underwear. This is going to be so gross. So the underwear where you had your first period, the blood, they will wash it in the water, and then they will do this on your face. Like, they were gonna, like, smear it in your face and then wipe your face a little bit so that you won't get acne. So that's what they believe. It's superstitious belief that they have been doing. And I said, that's so unhygienic.
Well, that's a culturally unique thing from the Philippines that I didn't know about.
I'm not sure if no one does it now anymore, but at least in my time, I still did it, and I didn't want to do it, but I just did it because I was so scared that I might get acne, because my mom told me that I would get acne through that. So they also made me carry like what do you call that? Like, it's where you put the buckets. Yeah, buckets of water, 2 buckets of water. So they made me carry those 2 buckets of water and then walk back and forth the house. So I don't know what's the reason for that, but it's something related with your hormone or something. I don't know. I just did it. And then they said, okay, you won't have acne when you have period in the succeeding months or the next years of your life. And I just had them. This is a scam.
Well, we didn't have the best boundaries in my family growing up, according to today's standards. I'm sure they were fine by the 80s. But for example, my parents, whenever something would happen with me and my brothers, they would put us on the prayer list at church. And I never liked that very much. I was like, I don't want them to know what happened to me or what I've been up to. And finally, I told my mom my sophomore year of college, I said, I do not want you to put me on the prayer list anymore. That ain't nobody's business but mine. And she finally, she said, okay.
But was it like, how did she take it at the beginning?
No, I think she was fine.
She was fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that's good.
I mean, it was through text, so I don't know.
Okay.
And I didn't care. It's like, I do not want to be on the prayer list anymore. Yeah, do not pray for me.
I like that. Yeah, growing up in the Philippines, it's kind of like unique. Yeah, there's a strong bond between your family and extended relatives, but there are some days that it's all just fun, but then there are so many days that you will feel so much hatred.
Frustration.
Frustration as well. I started resenting so many things as well when I was in the university. Because like I had to like live with a relative, and then it was kind of like frustrating at some points. But then in the Philippines, it's like also being grateful. Like to people who help you is a thing. But my concept now of being grateful is just for giving, like giving someone help. It's not having something back in return. It's like when you help someone, you just help them because you want to do it unconditionally. But somehow in the Philippines, it's like when someone does you something like being helpful or something, you have to give back. So there's something, an expectation. I want to translate it in our language. It's called utang na loob. And it's like they always like kind of like using that to gaslight you sometimes. So it's like you don't have utang na loob, or in English, you're so ungrateful. Like, I gave you this, I gave you that, I help you with this, and now you're returning it to me like this. And it's like, I kind of like, I'm done with that. Because I have...
The relationships were transactional.
Yeah, transactional.
Like, I don't actually... Maybe I care about you and maybe I enjoy being around you, but it's more like keeping a tab, like tit for tat. Like, I did this, so you did this.
Yeah.
Or,
counting.
you weren't there for me, so I'm not going to help you now.
Exactly. I kind of like inherited that kind of concept. I noticed it during the university days and during my first year as a professional. But I saw it was a toxic cycle that I'm just adding to the toxic cycle, because like it's kind of like a thing in the Philippines. I'm not saying everyone has this kind of mindset there, but it is kind of like mostly among Filipinos. It's like, especially with the oldies. And it's like, I don't like it, because it's like when you help, that's unconditional. And if you don't, I would understand if you don't have the ability to help back. I mean, I don't need that. I know I helped you because you needed help, and that's it. And I like to help you. So yeah, I kind of like cut off that, but it was a very difficult, a process, because the processing of everything was like being aware of it and then being able to unlearn it and learning something else with an adult brain. It's hard, but being with the right people and then being in a peaceful environment and being able, being able to receive the right support, I was able to process it.
That's so interesting. I know you were talking about your experiences growing up in the Philippines, but I feel like I can relate somewhat in my family dynamics, and I bet other people can too, whether they are listening from the U.S. or Norway or whatever. Like I think maybe there's some universality to that. Like I think we all grew up in a family, and we all to some degree have to figure out, okay, where do they end and where do I begin?
Yeah.
And how do I want my relationships to be? Do I want them to be transactional, or do I want them to just be like, oh, I enjoy this person? And it's like, we each have to figure out all those balances for ourselves.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated how you were saying, like, you had to unlearn some things and you had to like, just grow into adulthood. So let's go to the first big turning point in your adult life. What was that?
So I was in Thailand. I was teaching there, and I was enjoying my tenure as a English teacher.
Wait, so you said that you had low expectations. You're like, oh, maybe I'll just be a teacher and I'll stay in the Philippines. But then you ended up in Thailand and the Netherlands and Norway.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to bridge the gaps a little bit. I'm going to be quick. But yeah, so when I was in the Philippines, I had my first job there as a teacher in a kind of like international school. It's an international / private, but not really super international. But yeah. So I like it there. It was more academic based. So students are more like, like more working on their academic life than like activities and something. So it's more like when I taught there, everyone was so conscious about their grammar. Everyone is conscious about their grades. So the parents of the students I was teaching, they were very competitive. So it was a pressure to me because like if I receive a complaint, it means it's not on the students, it's on me. So it was nice. It was a nice learning curve for me because like everything I learned about from the university about teaching, I was able to put it into practice in my first job. And it was still like an internship to me. But then at the same time, I had to take a lot of accountability because I'm already taking care of students whom are daughters and sons of politicians, of celebrities in the Philippines. So I felt like, oh my God, I have to be really good at this. But then at some point, it ate me up. I got sick because I was so stressed. And I had many like little complaints. There's one student there. She only had one mistake. Overall, she only had one mistake and everything was correct. And the parent was complaining about it. And I said, why? Your kid was doing great and you should be proud of her. And she was like, no, I can't accept that because her answer is close to correct. Like she was very perfectionist. So for a year, I supervised her kid who was performing really great, but it was not enough for her. Mm-hmm. So it kind of like burnt me out because I had to keep on like telling her, supporting my stance about and providing her researches why we cannot accept that one mistake. And it happens in other subjects as well. So I had to be there as her advisor as well to face in the principal's office. And it's like, okay, I cannot be in this cycle anymore. And I had to quit. So that was 2 years. So different scenarios every day. And then when I quit, I kind of like fell into anxious part of my life. Then I was...
Understandably so, if you had to deal with that.
Yeah. And then like, I was like, okay, I quit my job. I don't have a job right now. What am I going to do? And then I sent, I went to this IELTS. I don't know if you know IELTS. It's like an English proficiency that Filipinos take if they want to study abroad or if they want to like be a nurse in the UK or in the US. So we take IELTS. But what I did was I took the workshop because I didn't have something to do. And then it was fun. I had the nurses in the class and then I was learning from them. And then I kind of like got encouraged to go abroad. So the turning point was like, okay, I don't want to go to the UK, but I don't know how. I don't want to, like, I went to the universities there online and then look for the requirements, and it's like, it's too much. I can't comply with this. And then one of my friends from the university, she texted me. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to Thailand. Want to go with me?" I was like, "What are you gonna do there?" I'm just gonna be a tourist. Like, I heard it's beautiful there, and I was like, "Okay, sure." And then we booked our flight, and then it was just a 3-day trip. And then when we went there, we fell in love. I was like, "How about we find a job here?" I was like, "No, I don't have anything. I just have my clothes. I just have my makeup and everything." And she was like, "No, let's just try applying." And then she contacted one of her friends there, one of our friends who used to be in the university as well. She was teaching there. And then she helped us. And then we found a job. And then we stayed there. I stayed there for almost 3 years. And it was a good experience because I didn't know the language. But even though we weren't required to speak Thai. As long as we know English, it's fine. But then, yeah, it was that the kids were more respectful, surprisingly, than in the Philippines. And grammar wasn't so important or like academics. Life skills were more important for them. So they were taught how to, like, plant. They were taught how to survive this and that. They were taught how to hike there and here and there. And it's like, it's nice. And then I kind of like that. I was teaching English, but at the same time, we're trying to align the curriculum or the lessons through like life skills, like essential life skills. And it was really nice. I had a lot of workshops. It was fulfilling, but then I felt it was very monotonous. So I kind of like, search for it was COVID time. I tried to search for an opportunity. But I was actually depressed by that time again because we started working from home. It was COVID time.
I think everybody felt depressed during COVID.
Yeah, and I didn't know what to do, and I saw it. There was a kind of pressure as well from my batchmates in the university. That's why I stopped using Facebook. So they were like posting a lot of achievements, even though they were just in the Philippines. So they were buying houses. They have spent this and that for to buy a car, starting their own businesses, even though they were just doing this and that. And somehow it kind of like struck me, and I felt like, oh, I haven't invested anything. What am I doing? And from that point, and then I went online and then tried to find some opportunities. But my cousin, who's in France, she messaged me. And no, she didn't message me, but I saw her Facebook at some point. Like, she was in France. I tried to remember, what she was doing here again. And she's a cultural exchange student there. And then I tried to search for that. And then I found an agency. And then they were looking for cultural exchange students. And then, but you will live with the host family. And then in exchange, you will be with their kids for 5 hours in a day. Just like playing with them, bringing them to school, or like having snacks with them. And then that's it. And then you will receive free language courses. You will receive like cultural exchange program activities and stuff. And then I was kind of sold because like I won't pay anything. The host family will take me there and then they will pay everything. All I need to pay is like some little expenses, like, okay, this is my luggage, additional luggage or something.
So is that how you came to Norway?
No, the Netherlands.
Oh, the Netherlands.
Yeah,
okay.
That was the turning point. So I met my host parents. I read what is cultural exchange. So I was like, it was just like pretty easy. So I read some cons as well, like some stories. There were so many horrible stories. But then I said, I don't think this family would take advantage of me because we had an interview. We had the letter, they sent me a letter, what they're doing. I like it. So when I met them, it was so exciting, but at the same time, it was a mix of emotions because Thailand and the Philippines can be the same. Both tropical countries, kind of like similar culture. But then when you move to the Netherlands, to Europe, it's so different.
Totally different.
The weather is different, of course. The people, the way they think, it's so different. There's more liberty. There's more like your opinion is more welcome. And they won't like, have a backlash about what you're saying. They will listen to it and then they will provide feedback. But then it's not like in the Philippines, when you say your opinion, they will be so mad at you that they will take it personally until they die. They hate you.
That's a little more like the U.S.
Yeah, but in the Netherlands now, there's a good spectrum of healthy debate. So I met my two wonderful host parents. I learned so much from them, and I'm so glad that I took the opportunity, because if not, I won't be the person I am right now. They taught me a lot of things. Like before, I didn't know how to say no. They taught me how to say no.
For example,
it's so easy. Like the situation is very not easy to say no, but I couldn't say no. For example, like Camille, do you want to take care of the kid, like her kid? Even though I had plans, I wasn't able to say my plan that time yet because I was just about to. But then in the Philippines, when someone says, okay, do you want to take care of your baby cousin? Whether you
can only say yes.
Yeah, can only say yes because it's nice. I mean, yeah, because it's nice, and we are people pleaser. So we just say yes. So in that, she would say, do you have, and she has this kind of like pattern when she asks me. She says, Camille, do you have anything else to do on the weekend? Like Saturday? Okay, you can say no to this completely because this is weekends are for you. So we're not allowed to take that from you. But she negotiates. Well, like I can ask other people to do it, but because you're here and yeah, I just want to ask if you want to take care of her just 2 hours this Saturday and 1 hour on Sunday. I can give you this and that.
So would you say no when she would ask things like that?
Yes, I would say, like at the beginning it was hard. That's what she noticed it. She said, I think you're just like having a hard time to say no. Just say no if you don't. It's totally fine. Okay? It's like she's always like that. And then it was a pattern. Like she would always ask me first. Like it's totally okay. Like setting, a feeling, a safe space for you to be able to make your own decision and being able to be freely to say no. I was like, okay, yeah, okay, no, I don't want it. But mostly I say yes because I really don't have to do anything. But in other situations, I would just say no. They taught me how to say no. And then they brought me to a lot of cultural stuff in the Netherlands. Like they brought me to this cheese factory. We saw how cheese was made in the Netherlands. And then all of these Dutch activities like museums. It was really nice. And then they also encouraged me to meet new people, to be sporty, although they tried, but at that point of my life, I was not really sure if I can be really sporty. I cannot commit to it because I knew myself. I was a bit lazy. At the same time, scared of taking accountability that if I pay for this, would I be able to continue? Something like that. But then they kind of pushed me. And then they also saw me, I was still active at the church that time as well. And then they also saw my dedication. And then they were asking me, is this something you really want? Because I came home, sometimes we'd go to the north of the Netherlands. And then I would travel back to Amsterdam. And then I pay huge amount of money just to attend the church. And then they were concerned. Like they're just asking me. I mean, they're not giving opinions about what I do. It's just they care for me. Like sometimes I would vent out what I really felt about it, and then I felt like I'm so connected to them until now that I can just freely vent out or ask them what I need, and they would just help me without anything in return.
So they freed you from some of the obligations of people pleasing, and I have to go to church.
Yes.
I guess I was a people pleaser to some extent also, but it never would have been seen that way because here's what I would do. I would say yes, and I would do whatever people would want me to do. And then would get angry afterward. So people wouldn't notice that I was actually like doing what I wanted, what they wanted me to do, and not saying no. So I would either like, or I would just quit my job.
Yeah.
Or just like end a friendship. I hate you.
It's like you're channeling. Sometimes I'm like that too. I'm even channeling out to other people. Like let's say with my husband, like I'm mad with some situation at work, and then I'll be mad at him too. It's like, wait a minute. It's none of my business. Like, why are you mad at? But then I'm working on that because it's also a new thing to me. But then so mostly all of my childhood baggages kind of like lessening. And then at that point in my life when I was in the Netherlands, I was at the middle of being confused. Because like the old principle and the new principles are like fighting. Which one is correct?
And you were just lost. And so,
I was so lost.
What do I do?
And it's the first time in my life that I took a lot of walks every day.
Did you feel a crisis?
Yes.
Like, who am I?
Yes.
What am I supposed to be doing?
Yes. It's like that point, that 1 year I spent in the Netherlands, every night I was crying because I was starting to fall in love with the new principles that I am learning, but then it's opposing my old ones. And it's like, there's a lot of what ifs. Like, what if my parents get mad? What if my friends would say this? Because most of my friends were from the church, like 90%. And it's like, if you leave the church, it means 90% of my friends will be gone. Because there's a rule in the church that once you get expelled, you're not allowed to talk to the person who got expelled. It's like unfriending, disowning you. And I feel like if someone from the church sees this now, I'll probably be like sued or something. I don't know.
Well, you already like marry a Norwegian guy who doesn't go to church. So they already have enough reasons to blacklist you. This is just one more. This is a cherry on top.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah, I'm fine. I hope so. I was saying that, I was in a huge crisis. It's like it was a constant battle of like, what do I do now? I would just like, do I have a future? I want to stay in the Netherlands, but after this program, I would just like go back to my country and then, tell what I've learned here. But I'm not yet done. I feel like there's something more to learn here, and I was craving for more. So what I did was kind of like slowly accepting it. But at the same time, I think my parents saw something different about me, that I was more, I was having more, like I was having stronger opinions. And then I was even more firm and authoritative about my decisions.
Assertive, not authoritative, I think.
Okay, maybe assertive,
Because, there's like passive, there's assertive and authoritative. And then passive aggressive is like a mixture of passive and aggressive. Okay. And assertive is the sweet spot where you're not like, but you're also like not people pleasing.
Oh yeah, maybe that's that's the best word to describe what I felt. Yeah. So it's somehow like that, assertive, but at the same time I was still lost, a little bit lost. So I decided that I want to continue another cultural exchange and then go back. So I tried to go to Norway, here in Norway.
Wait, before we talk about Norway, can I just jump in?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm just sort of thinking about my life's journey as you're talking about what you've been through, and I'm sort of connecting some new dots in a different way. And obviously I'm not from the Philippines. I'm from a small town in North Carolina, but I did come from a very religious family and a very like close family. Like where, you know, some of that transactional or maybe some of that stuff is like human nature and is more than what culture, like specific to the Philippines or the US. But anyway, when I started questioning like where I came from or what I was taught versus like a new way, I didn't go on walks every day. What I did was like, I drank because it was so uncomfortable that I learned, I can just have a beer or 3 or 6. So I think it's really wise that you like went on walks and you were able perhaps to handle how uncomfortable it is to go through that inner battle. I think you handled it better than I did.
Well, maybe because I was still part of the church and we were not allowed to drink.
Okay.
Yeah, but I also didn't drink. Like when I was growing up, I would get a reaction to alcohol. So I tasted it like a little sip when I was 18 and I didn't like it. And then I had some sort of reaction, like I got a little bit swollen. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore. So, but I'm not saying what you did was really great, you know, that but maybe that's, you have your own way of like, you know, like exerting it out that way. Maybe if I knew how to, like, if I was okay drinking, maybe I would have, well, like, who knows, right?
Well, you said you had a reaction to alcohol. I also had a reaction to alcohol. Okay. And my reaction was, this is wonderful. It makes all my problems go away. And I think I'll have more.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like, I mean, I didn't have much of a choice because, like, being a cultural exchange student, you only get little allowance, you know, you cannot buy alcohol anyway or anything. But then, like, walking, I found peace on that. Like, I would just listen to a podcast and then walk and then relate myself to the topic and then realize that, oh, maybe this is a trauma response. And then I'm learning so much. And then,
Did you know all the psychological buzzwords? So I guess maybe you taught yourself a lot on those walks with the podcast.
Yeah. I kind of like learn more by reading and just listening to podcasts. I read a lot of literature before, but I didn't read nonfiction. So when I came to Europe, I started reading nonfiction and became so interested about what's happening to myself. Like, because no one could know. I was too shy to ask what's happening to me. So what I would do is just, like, my host mom, she collects a lot of books, nonfiction books as well.
Like self-help and philosophy and things like that.
Maybe philosophy more on business because she's a CEO and a founder of a company. So in business, they also talk about the psychology in business or something. I kind of like drawn to those books. And then, like, on the psychology side, they explain the neurological patterns and connection, why people react on this is in relationship and in terms of business as well. So I kind of like pattern that to myself as well and align it as, okay, maybe it's like that. Maybe it's a trauma response.
But I actually interrupted you. I think you were about to jump to your second big life turning point, which was leaving Amsterdam or leaving the Netherlands and deciding you hadn't had enough and that you wanted another cultural exchange and coming to Norway.
Yeah, but the truth is I didn't want to go to Norway. I wanted to stay in the Netherlands because I applied for a teacher's license there. And then I just needed time to wait for it. And then the only way to do it was to find a country where I can legally stay while waiting for that. But then the only way probably was to be in another country and then do another cultural exchange program. So I went to Norway and found a family. I was expecting when I came to Norway, I would have the same family experience. And then when I came there, it was nice. But then on the first night that I was there, first day when I woke up, she gave me like a back-to-back 7 pages paper with small font sizes of this small font size of chores. What am I gonna do? I was scared because I was like, wait a minute, what is this? I was like looking, and then she was explaining like you need to like separate all the wool and the color, the clothes and this and that. Like it's all in details. Like first you wake up at this hour. I mean, when I was in the Netherlands, no one would tell me you have to wake up at this hour. They gave me an option to like, you can wake up at 7 and join us for breakfast, or just wake up like at the time when you need to bring the kids to school. There is like, you have to wake up at 6:30 a.m., prepare the breakfast. After preparing the breakfast, bring the kid to school, and then bringing the kids to school, you need to clean this and that, and then this and that, and then they have 3 floors, and then the house was big. So I was like, basically, I'm their maid. I was like, wait a minute.
Were you able to say no and negotiate, or did the old scripts that you were taught of just people please come in?
Yeah, it kind of like kicked in, but because I was shocked, this was opposed to what we talk about. So I was like, I didn't expect it, because I had huge trust. Like my trust for people is so high, because the standard was my previous host family. And I knew people won't do that to me, because in Norway, they advertise this country as an egalitarian country. Everyone is equal. And I didn't expect that they would take advantage of me. So I was so shocked. And I was like, wait, I don't know anyone in Norway. I don't have money, Norwegian kroners. I only have euros. And then I don't even have a bank. And my bank in the Netherlands is almost cut, because if you leave the country, you need to cut the bank. So what am I going to do? So all those fear came in.
And just for the listeners, to get a bank account in Norway is not an easy feat.
It's not easy.
In order to get a bank account, you have to do like 18 things before that, and they all, including like going to the police. And it's an insane system when you first move here. It works like once you're here a couple of years, it's quite smooth because you everything is front loaded. But it's a pain in the ass to move here and get like your bank account or your national number. So there's a little context for the listeners.
Yeah. And it will take like 6 months before you get it, the bank. So I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And I was just like, my excitement, it plummeted. I was like, okay. And then I told myself, now, Camille, you can do it. You can do this. And then you just have to like make out something from this and try to find solutions. That's how you were built in. You were equipped to find solutions already. And then I was like stuttering inside my head, and she was like the host mom was like saying, okay, you need to do this and that and this and that. It's like, is that okay for you? And I went back to 0 and said, yes. Yeah, okay, I'll do it. And then I made a huge sigh. And then my first 6 months with them, it was crazy, because I had to wake up 6:30 a.m. in the morning and do this and that. And they were so bad in communicating. Like they assume I know everything already. I didn't clean in my life like that. I didn't do professional cleaning. So there was one time I was wiping the mirror in the toilet, in the bathroom. And then like, there was just like some moist left, which I didn't see. And I thought I did a great job. For a person who didn't clean before, I felt like I did a perfect job cleaning their whole house. And then the dad came and he was complaining. And he was like, his tone was very, very superior. It was like, Camille, come here. I was like, yes, what is it? I was like, look at this. This is not how you wipe the mirror. I was like, oh, sorry. It's like, turn on the lights. And then he showed me like that and this and that, like really like shimmery, shiny, something like that. I was like, I didn't see any problem from what I did, because it looks okay from at least.
So you were back into like that whole authoritarian dynamic and the transactional relationship dynamic, and completely back to square one.
Yeah, it was, there was one, yeah, you're right. And then there was one time that the mom, she, on the weekend, we talk about this, that on the weekend, it's my free time. But then, because I still went to church when I was there for 6 months. And then every Sunday, I'd still go. But then when I came from the church one time, the dad talked to me, and I was like, Camille, come here. You know what? He was very, very like superior again. And then it was like, you know what? My wife is so stressed about you. I was like, why? What did I do again? And he's like, no, she was thinking of asking you to take care of the kids on Sunday, but because you have church, she can't do it. She cannot ask you. She needs to go to work on Sunday because she's a doctor. So she needs to go to the hospital, but you're not available. You're supposed to be available on this because you need to be flexible. Like, we always give you a chance to go to church on Thursday nights as well, and we compromise with that. I was like, wait a minute, I only have to work for you 5 hours per day. And I always exceed 5 hours by cleaning and then cooking food, making, like picking up the kids or maybe bringing the kids to school. And he was like very accusatory like that I didn't try to negotiate or something. It's like, you didn't even try to communicate with me. You know, I would say yes because I can adjust my time on Sunday. And it's just like, you're just becoming so angry and telling me what you want me to do without communicating first what you need from me. And by the way, I couldn't, like, in my mind, I couldn't tell them that it's supposed to be like, you know, like my time. And I only have to be 5 hours per day with them. And then they're taking all of my time.
You said this was a turning point. And
yeah.
So it sounds like it turned to like back to childhood. But is there hope and a positive outcome at the end of you moving to Norway?
Yeah. The turning point was then I kind of forced myself to go on for a hike. So every Saturday I would go out and then meet some new friends from expats group, expats community. Like, even though I chose to be with expats because I learned so much from them. Like, when I go to church and start venting out about my situation with my current host family that time, they would just tell me, you don't have a voice here. Just accept it. Just be grateful that they brought you here. Like, yeah. So instead of going to the church, I would just meet this expat group who likes to hike. And then they are a really diverse group. Some from India, some from Lithuania, from Spain. And then I'm learning so much from them, different perspectives. And then it's like, I'm trying to compare what I learn. And then they have really strong opinions about everything. And I was so inspired by them because they know how to stand up for themselves. Like, they know when you need to stop. Enough is enough. And then you need to leave in different contexts. So with them, I felt like, okay, I need to let go of my family. But before that letting go, I joined this expat group. We went hiking, and then I became very close friends with some people. And then one time, he brought my now husband into the hike, and then he was very quiet. He's Norwegian. So I was like, okay,
typical Norwegian.
It's a typical Norwegian, but okay, I don't like Norwegians because of my host family. So I was like, yeah, okay. And then when he was there, we were all talking, and he was very quiet. He was listening, and then I started talking about a book that I am still writing up to now. And then he made a comment with that, and then he started conversing with me. And then I felt like by his words, he's very smart. So the way he chooses his words is like, it's a very peculiar vocabulary. So I kind of like attracted to that kind of thing because he sounds so smart. And then the next few hikes, he also joined.
Did he join only because of you? Did you find that in retrospect?
Well, I asked him now. Like, nowadays we talk about the past. And then he said, yeah, kind of. We would say that way. He won't admit it, but he would try to give you like a gist. Yeah, of course. Like, he said that he chickened out when the first time he saw me. He wanted to ask for my number, but he chickened out. So he was like, she's so talkative, and then I'm just very like reserved or something. Like, he was quite afraid of talking. But then he said, what if I don't meet her again? What if this is the last time? What if this guy won't bring me here and she's not here next time, blah, blah, blah. And then the next hike, the second hike, instead of asking for my number, what he did was he asked for everyone's number.
Okay, so I'm laughing because I know your husband, and that is just so. Oh, I can just I can just hear his brain working right now, and yes, that is so him. That is so him.
Because he was like, okay, I need to ask for her number.
And y'all are completely different people.
We are.
You're like my better half. Y'all, if you put y'all together in a room for 2 weeks and y'all just get started talking, and I'm a little bit more like him. I could be fine in the north of Norway by myself for the rest of my life, but just probably not talking to anybody.
Yeah. So like, should I ask for her number or not? I'll just ask for everyone's number so she won't bother. So I was like, what? And then like he created a group chat. So he was just like like we were chatting there, but I was like silently happy that he asked for everyone's number. But I didn't even know how to talk to him, like just him, not in the group chat. But then we kind of like plan our weekends there, and then those things that we did kind of like saved me from the horror of my host family. So for 6 months that I was there, those situations with him and my friends saved me. And then I was venting out with them, and I felt their support. I felt that my opinions and my feelings were valid, and I felt like I was someone.
So you got the je ne sais quoi of that Dutch family back in your life,
kind of in their presence. So I was like, I was gaining it back, and then I felt like I was strong enough to let go of the family and find a new thing. I couldn't see myself to stay in that family doing the same routine every day for the rest of my years there. So I asked for a change. So I decided to change families. And luckily, I found this family who will treat me right. And then it was fun being with them. They were very supportive, not very monitoring. They gave me a lot of opportunities to explore Norway. And then I was able to get to know my husband now through them, because I had like balanced time with my chores and then with my husband and getting to know him. So we started dating after those acts. And then to be brief, I left the church. I decided to leave the church. So it was because of I had to make a decision that do I really want to suffer with those kind of toxicity, like the perspectives they were trying to feed me.
So both of these first two turning points are all about with the Dutch family and meeting your husband. They're all about you finding a different from people pleasing and having these transactional relationships and having this like authoritative God and authoritative elders to something that's more roomy and has room for your opinions, for your thoughts, for how you think, for how you feel, for what you want. So what's the third turning point? Is it on the same theme or something different?
No, it's something different, because now I have freed myself from many things that held me back to be who am I right now. But now I feel like more navigating in different waters, because now I'm free. Now what am I gonna do? So living here in Norway is quite difficult, because finding a job and then also finding your niche. What do you want to do? Because like I can be a teacher here if I want to. I would just like learn Norwegian and study the missing credentials I don't have and align it to the diploma of Norway. But then I figure out, like, I have this realization that no, I don't want to teach anymore. Like, I want to do something different, more fulfilled. And I had that realization when I had this internship. So after getting married, I started to look for jobs again. So I was actively looking, but I stopped because I got depressed because I couldn't find a job. So I was just writing a book, but then stop again because becoming depressed again. So it's passive aggressive with that. And then got married, and I was started to find a job. But still, like, I think I sent more than 100 applications, and it's just 2 interviews with those 100 applications. And then one of those is one of the interviews, it's a scam. And then another one, like, they said, okay, you are accepted. And then I asked for the schedule. I didn't hear a call back. They ghosted me. So I followed up, but no response. So I felt really discouraged, like, despite of having some experience and some credentials, as some in a network is still not enough. So I ended up questioning myself, like, why am I not enough? Like, I did this and that, started learning Norwegian. Like, I tried to exhaust anything that I can do just to break into the job market of Norway. But I realized that it's really difficult even for Norwegian nationals, like the recent graduates. So it's like I'm battling against highly competitive immigrants and also like Norwegians. So my chances like is very low. So yeah, I still network. I didn't give up, although I'm depressed at the middle of it. And then I met the girl, and then she introduced me to this internship that I have. And then it's marketing. It's related to marketing. And then I didn't know anything about it. But then in the internship, it's teaching me a lot. And then I ended up loving it. And I had this realization, no, I don't want to go back to teaching. I think I learned more here. And then like I found a new love. But then, of course, it's still difficult because it's just an internship. It's not a full-time job. But then I'm working with startup founders there, and then they recognize my talent. And then they are asking me, like, do you want to be the person who's in charge for my social media, for my CRM tools? And I didn't know all of those, but then the best teacher is your experience. And then I thought myself, and then I helped them. And then now I asked myself, what if I start a business out of this? And then, yeah, now I'm trying to register my ENK, ENK. Mm-hmm. And then I have few clients.
Okay.
And then it's increasing because I got another email last week. She was asking me if I could be her social media manager. Nice. And I was like, okay, this is really working. I'm not even trying so hard to look for clients, but they're just coming. So now I see the value of, stepping out of your comfort zone, like also being able to learn new skills and not being afraid to discover what's behind the rabbit hole, and, just enjoying new experiences. And of course, the value of supportive community and networking. It's very important in Norway.
So with all that being said, do you want to do some rapid fire?
Let's do it.
Okay. Do you have questions for me?
I don't have any prepared questions, but now I have like just spontaneous questions.
Okay. Do you want to go first then?
Yeah, sure.
What's your first question for me?
What can you share, like like a lesson or like food for thought that you have learned throughout your journey?
Well, I think it'll probably change depending on what day you ask me, but today is today. So I'll give you today's answer. Sometimes boring is the best thing you can hope for. Like, I grew up wanting like a big romance and a big career and a big job. And it's like, you know what? Like sometimes if you just have good people around you and, like doing this YouTube podcast, like I love doing this, but it's a pain in the ass to edit the video, to like set up the gear. And so in life's journey, it feels like a lot is wasted in like setting up and breaking down for the thing you actually want to do. But it all counts, and it's okay to be bored, and it's okay to feel like you're spinning your wheels or wasting your time, because it all somehow builds to something.
Wow. I love that, because I kind of like realized that, but I just couldn't put it into words. It was hard to find the right term for it.
Okay. My first question for you is, who is your hero? And Patrick is an acceptable answer.
Okay, Patrick. My hero is myself.
Ooh, that's a good answer.
Because if I didn't show up for myself, I won't be here. It's just, until now, I keep on falling and stumbling down, like I always fail. But I just cry and cry and cry and say, I don't want to do this anymore. I give up, but I still show up and then do it again. And then just do it again.
Oh, that's a great answer. Okay, what's your next question for me?
My question for you is the same. Who's your hero?
Well, I have several, and if you buy my book, Becoming Who You Truly Are, you can read about them because they're all in there.
Okay.
Okay, if you could be transformed into one animal, which one would you choose?
Oh, I love that.
Aldi?
I love dogs. I love Ollie so much, but I would go for a camel.
Camel, why?
Yeah, because camel are strong animals that can stand heat and drought. So they can survive without water in the desert. And I like their power of perseverance being in the desert. And they're still strong, carrying bags and people on their backs.
Very resilient.
Yeah, resilient. And my name, Camille, it was actually based on camel.
Oh, okay.
It was derived from that by my mom.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, the third question. It's kind of like similar to the first question, to the second question I asked you, but I want you to answer based on the characters. Like, who is your favorite superhero and why?
No, actually, Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange is the most metaphysical, and he is all about like time, space, and here, there, everywhere. And yeah, I like Doctor Strange.
Okay, I like Batman.
Batman, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a hidden talent?
I'm not sure if it's hidden or not, but I like drawing, illustrating, like cartoon and anime characters.
And you have a new talent for rock climbing, and you and your husband are going to take us after this.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, but I'm not so good at it. My husband, he's so good at it. But yeah, it's a new thing that I have been doing since last year. It's very interesting. It's breaking down my fear of heights.
Yeah, I have a fear of heights also, so it's going to be interesting to see.
I'm excited. I'm so happy you said yes.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get more than like 5 feet off the ground. Okay, what's your next question for me?
Okay, this is my question. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Oh God, I don't know.
Who knows, right? But if you have the chance to control your sale,
married with a baby, in our own apartment or house that we bought. There's some other details that I'm thinking in my mind that I won't say.
Okay.
Yeah, but those are the main ones. Yeah. No, the other details are just around career. I'm sort of still figuring out, like, okay, I think I know what my strengths and weaknesses are around like what I can offer in my career, but like how exactly do I bring that into reality?
Nice.
So yeah. Do you have a bucket list? And if so, what's on it?
My bucket list? Yeah, I kind of like ticked off some of it, but then maybe I want to go to Switzerland. And also I want to bring my husband to the Philippines.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And actually, I think we're going to get married again.
Yes. So we're planning to go this September. So we're going to scout some places and then we're going to plan it. Because the first wedding was kind of like formality, and then like we want to do it again, like everyone is included.
Maybe you can invite us, and I can make a travel video of the Philippines.
Yes, I will, of course.
Some good friends of ours just got married in Spain a few weeks ago, so who knows? Maybe I'll end up traveling the world, making travel videos just as I go to see my friends get married all around the world. Well, Camille, I've so appreciated you being here today and sharing your time with us and sharing your experience, strength, and hope.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot about, well, people-pleasing and what that means and the struggle that it takes to go from that life of transactional relationships and submitting to authority to really learning how to negotiate and make room for yourself in life. So it's been really powerful for me to hear your life story or a little part of it today. I'd like to end the podcast today by asking the same question I've asked every single guest on every podcast episode. What does it mean for you for a person to become who they truly are?
That's a very nice question, because like now I'm still in the process of finding who I'm truly, but based on the journey that I had so far, it's like being a person you truly are. It means like finding peace wherever you go, and being able to let go of, the childhood baggage you had, being able to say no, knowing your boundaries, and being able to control your sails, because you are the captain of your soul. And I think it's very important to being able to know yourself, your values, and are these values aligning to what you really want?
Perfect. And thank you so much for being my first live in-person interview. We did it.
Yeah, we did it.
That's it for this week's podcast episode. If you'd like to support the channel, you can go to patreon.com/PatrickAAParker. And while supplies last, I'll send you a free Audible copy of my book, Becoming Who You Truly Are. Thanks so much for joining and listening to this week's episode. And as always, until next time we meet, I wish you nothing but the best in your life's journey to becoming all that you truly are.